Hello, this is Fleming from CON.EX and Fitness for Life, ready to give you this week's exercises in our CON.EX programming. Last week we started up in our new 10-week programming in our CON.EX programming. This week we are building on the exercises we had last week. We're making them a little bit more complex, so we are moving up into our time frame. We're doing a 90-30 protocol, so we're doing 90 seconds of work. 30 seconds rest. We got 5 exercises. We're going to do them all twice in a total of 20 minutes. Now, when we're doing these a little bit more complex movements, your heart rate is not going to go up quite as high, but that is not the aim. We're not aiming to give you high heart rate. That's why we're doing these complex movements. We have a lot of other things that we have in focus on, but I'll show you that when we get to the exercises. Exercise number 1 this week is what we call the front lunge to low squat. So I'm going to start with feet about hip width apart, and I'm going to feel that connection in the ground, shoulders are down, feel connected up through my body and spine. Then I'm going to take a step forward into my lunge. I'm going to exhale as I lower myself down, and I feel like I'm lowering myself down, pulling myself down to the ground, keeping that position on my knee, and then I'm going to pull the back leg forward into my squat position, and I'm going to squat up. From here I can take a step back or keep going forward depending on what kind of room I have. But our aim here is to transition from a lunge into a squat. So I'm going to maintain that stability on my one hip as I'm moving forward, stability around my hip, forward with my foot, keeping that torque out, and then pressing up using my hip, pressing my feet into the ground. From here I can either go as low as I can, so the back knee is just slightly touching. It's almost like if you are petting a pet or anything like that, just a slight touch of the floor, so we're not putting any pressure on our knee on the floor ground. So down, moving forward, pressing up, and then stepping back. Or if you feel your knees are not into this position, or you feel you're unstable the lower you get, then a little bit shallow, so not quite as far down, but keeping that stability, pulling forward and pressing up. Again, just show you one more time. Down, forward, pressing up. So we keep that stability around our feet. So it's both the contact on the ground with your foot, stability around your ankle, knee and hip, and controlling that upper body so you're not swaying around. If you feel you can on this exercise and you have the stability to it, then you can add a little bit of weight, or even just take a book. This is a yoga block. It doesn't have to be weight, but that's that pressing in with your hands, squeezing your elbows in and pulling your shoulders down. It's going to help you increase that stability throughout the body, so you feel, make the exercise a lot easier. So that's exercise number 1. The next exercise, I'm going to use this to pick off the floor. We got a one-legged, stiff-legged, pick something off the floor exercise. So again, I'm grabbing the floor with my feet. So feeling my toes kind of digging into the ground, feeling contact with my heel and the base joint of my little toe and my big toe, that triangle down into the floor, supported with my toes grabbing the floor. Now I have a slight bend in my knee. And I'm going to try to keep that position of my knee, so we're not going up and straighten the knee, but keeping that slight bend. I'm going to lift my crown up towards the ceiling, so I'm going to feel like I have a broomstick in my back. So the only kind of pivot point I have is my hip joint here. Shoulders are down, arm forward. I have a little bit of weight or something to pick up or put down on the floor to start off with in one arm. I'm going to push my hip back and go down as far as I can towards the ground. I'm not bending my knee anymore. I keep that contact on the ground, and from here when I come back up, I'm going to press my foot into the ground and push my hip up and forward. I'm going to feel my hamstrings pulling me up. So that pull with my hamstrings, pulling up, almost pulling the back of my head up towards standing again. Make sure I have my balance before I go on to the next exercise. Slowly down, and pressing back up. So foot in and pushing my hip up. If I feel my balance is weak here, or I have improvement potential in my balance, I can do this next to a wall, so I can have one hand on the wall, just slightly touching, try not to grab, but find where you're still pushing yourself a little bit, so pushing your balance, but not where you're falling over. So we want to keep it as clean as possible in the exercises. We're going to do 45 seconds on one leg and then 45 on the other. If you can, then start on the weaker leg if you have it, and from there you can progress up. And here again you can use a higher weight if you need to, but glass of water, anything you can pick up, just so you have something to grab, something that you gotta go down and grab a hold of to get up. That's exercise number 2. So from here we go to exercise number 3, which is our leg thread to side plank. So we're going to go down on the floor, and on this exercise I'm going to keep pulling my shoulders down and back, kind of like I'm gripping the floor with my forearms and my hands. Shoulders are down. I want to keep that core active, so we want to keep that pelvic tuck underneath, around a little bit of rounding in our back, that hollow body position. So our starting point, elbows in, shoulders down, and I'm going to start on my knees, and then I'm going to tuck that tailbone underneath, put my feet in and press my heels back. So here I got tension in my glutes, shoulders are down, I'm feeling stable here. From here I take first my one knee up to the opposite elbow, back, and then opposite knee, and as I'm going back the second time here, I'm turning on the outside of my foot and going straight over into a side plank. And as I'm coming back here, I wanted that top leg to go up and try and touch the opposite elbow. So I'm pulling in, top leg up, opposite leg, and then over in the side plank on the other side. So I should be able to do this without having to put that back leg in for balance. As soon as I feel I get my tensions right, keep that tension around my shoulders, my core is connected, then I should be able to do it without putting that foot in for balance. But if you need the balance, then please put it down, so make sure we do it nice and safely. Also take care of your shoulders on this one. As you're turning over into that side plank, you're not feeling any pressure, any bad pressure around your shoulder. To take care of that, and then move your forearm around the floor. So as I'm going over, then rotate a bit on your arm. If my arm's stuck over here, I have a lot more pressure on my shoulder. If I'm in here, I can move it over, and then there's a lot less pressure on my shoulder. Now, if you feel it's too hard to go into that side plank with your legs straight, then we can do it on our knees. So as I'm pulling back in, I can go on my knees and then roll over in my side plank, making sure I have tension around my glutes, pushing my hip forward. Back in, feet in, lifting. And then down, over, and into the side plank. So again, nice and slowly, so we have the transition from our leg thread over to our side plank. That's part of the exercise. So it's not from A to B, it's the duration of A to B to C and then back again. So it's all the little steps in between as well that's equally as important as standing in the side plank or being in a hollow body position in the middle. So trying to connect the dots and paint a pretty picture here. That was exercise number 3. We go to exercise number 4. Now on exercise number 4, we're going to do a spine rock. And here we got to pay a lot of attention to how our mobility is around our low back, and how that mobility and our core contact can kind of play a part in together. So the most important part here is low back mobility. That's what we're working on, and controlling that mobility. So we're going to start by sitting down on the floor. On a yoga mat, if you have 2, then put 2 on top of each other. That's a little bit nicer to lay on. As I'm sitting here, I'm going to pull my shoulders down and back and my arms forward. Then I'm going to try to put one vertebrae on the floor at a time. So I'm rolling back, try to pull that low back in first, nice and slowly down. Now I'm not going to go as far down, so I'm resting on my shoulders and losing tension. I want to go down just before my shoulders are off on the floor, and then I'm going to pull up one vertebrae at a time off the floor again. So I keep that nice sensation, that rolling sensation around my spine. Now if that's too much, if you feel like I can get down but I can't get up, then don't go further down than you can get up without losing that sense of tension. I can make it a little bit easier by putting my hands on my knees, and then as I'm pulling down, I have my hands, and I can't go further down and my arms are straight, but I can still, I get a sense of that rounding of my low back and then pulling back up using my abs, not my arms. If you feel that you can do this and you can roll back and back up again in the same nice tension and controlled way, then we can try and going further into the exercise and go into a spinal rock. So here I'm going to lift my feet off the floor. I can keep my hands to my knees, shoulders are down, rolling back. And I'm exhaling as I'm rolling back, inhaling as I'm sitting up. When we're doing this, I would like to keep your toes off the floor so I can control not just the roll but also the stopping, so that I can accelerate and decelerate my movement. From here I can take my knees my hands off the knees and roll. So now I can't use my hands as support. Should still be a rolling sensation. I used to say that you shouldn't feel like you're rolling like a Lego man. They're all straight in the back. So you should feel it as a roll. You can hear it. So listen to that movement. If you feel like a bumping sound on the floor, then your low back might be too stiff to do this exercise. Regress to do the first one. And if you feel you can hold that tension, you can get that roll, that nice even roll, then you can increase it even more and put a hip extension on when you're on your shoulders. So again, shoulders are down, I'm lifting my feet off the floor, rolling up, hip extension, back up again. So when I'm doing this exercise, I'm trying to keep my heels towards my glutes. So I'm not opening up my hip or in my knees, but I'm trying to use my glute and that core contact. Again, lifting up. And again, holding that tension and keeping that easy roll, pulling myself back down. I'm not falling down, I'm pulling myself down. So that was exercise number 4. We have the last exercise, exercise number 5, a rocker press. Now when we're doing a rocker press is like I'm doing an overhead press. So I want to keep my shoulders down, I want to press up towards the sky. But here we got no load, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn you around and then put the top of the head down towards the ground. So to start off with this, we have 3 different progressions of this. The first one, I'm going to start with my hands about shoulder width apart. I'm going to grip the floor with my fingers. Shoulders are pulled down and back. and put my toes in. And then I'm going to press my hip up towards the ceiling. Push back on my arms. I want to keep that tension. From here I can straighten my legs if you can, depending on how your low back's feeling, how the tension on your hamstrings are feeling. Slightly bent the knee, that's okay. Keep that pull with my abs down, and I'm going to pull the top of my head down between my hands and push straight back. So as I'm pushing back, I'm being careful not to open up, so that distance between my thigh and my chest, I'm going to keep that the same. Pushing back. The stronger I am, the more I can put my hip up towards the floor and kind of make my back almost vertical. Now if you can go up and back in the same direction, keep that tension. As long as you can do that, then that's fine, you can stay there. But if you start feeling that as soon as I press back, then I want to lift my chest instead, then we're going to regress that exercise and just do the eccentric, the down version of the exercise. I'm going to pull my head down, slightly touch, and then putting my knees in and pressing back up into my start position, pull myself down, slight touch, knee in, and then back. So I keep that tension around my shoulders. You should feel it on the shoulders as I'm pulling yourself down. Holding that tension around your abs, slightly down your knees, and then pressing back up from there. Now, to decrease this even more, you can go over to a wall and do the rocker press up against the wall. I'm going to put my hands on my wall here, again about shoulder width apart, and down. I'm going to put my toes in, lift my heels off. I'm pressing my feet into the ground, and I should feel the more pressure there is in my feet, the more pressure there is on my hands on the floor, on the wall here. Shoulders are down, back straight, and then we're going to pull myself forward. Again, just hands, my head touching the floor, and pressing straight back. Pulling, pressing, pulling, pressing. But I want to keep that tension up throughout my body the whole time. So the harder the more that I press with my legs, the more pressure on my hands, the more pressure on my shoulders. And then your head doesn't have to touch the wall, or the same with the floor. Go down as far as you can, as far in as you can, where you feel safe on your shoulders, feel you can hold that tension. So we have 5 exercises. We're going to do it in 90-30, so 90 seconds of work, 30 seconds rest, twice with each exercise, and then you're all done. It's 20 minutes. Take care out there. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help you. Have a good day and stay safe.